Welcome everyone to the Snap Stretch webinar. My name is Bethany Lewis. I am with the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition. I just want to welcome everyone here. I want to really thank you for your interest, especially if you're a new market or business or entity looking to help us get the word out about the Snap Stretch program here in West Virginia. And anyone else who has come back and are participating with us for a second market season or year in the program. We're super excited for the new opportunities and information we have to share with you here today. I also have Matthew Thompson here with me as a co-host and Spencer Moss, and I'll let them introduce themselves here in a minute. And then just a little bit of housekeeping. We do have the chat feature enabled here. So as you're going along, if you have any questions that you would like answered, we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A at the end of the call. So go ahead and start asking your questions as they come to you during this process. And just let us know, if you have any of those questions, we'll answer those at the end. And then I'll also have a poll at the end so that everybody can give us some information as to who attended today and what kinds of questions or need you still have after today's webinar. So I'll go ahead and start by introducing Matthew.
Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Thompson and I'm the Community Placemaking and Land Access Coordinator for the Food and Farm Coalition, and I support Snap Stretch in promotion and outreach.
And Spencer.
Hey folks, I'm Spencer Moss. I'm the Executive Director of the Food and Farm Coalition. So I'm just really grateful that there are 33 participants on today's call. We really anticipate Snap Stretch being, this is like our season 2.5 in operation, essentially. And so just from some initial numbers from opening weekends of markets, it looks like it's going to be an amazingly well-spent program this season. And so I'm just really excited about that for all of the families in need, but also all of our farmers who are participating in the program in one way, shape, or form. So thank you guys for being here.
So just a little bit of an overview for everyone. Spencer said this program has been running for a couple of years now, and last year our overall market numbers for Snap Stretch incentive reimbursements totaled over $57,000, and we had customers participating at over 20 markets around the state last year. One of the things that was a huge learning curve for us, and something that was apparent after collecting the data and completing the reports, was the markets providing the Snap Stretch incentives also made a tremendous impact for senior citizens across the state, providing locally sourced goods and items directly to seniors, a lot of times at, right at their front door, essentially at those senior residence living facilities. And one such of those markets was Thankful Valley Farms here in the Kanawha Valley area that travels around, has a mobile market. And so those are two things that we learned from last year that we'll be working to expand here in the program. We're actually expanding the incentives for senior shopping with their Snap Stretch, and we're also expanding the work with a couple different mobile markets throughout the state to be able to break those barriers of transportation issues and bringing food directly to your communities. So again, if you're interested in, operating in a mobile market, or you're getting that started, or have any questions, we have some resources and we'll be working with people to get that going this year. And then we also had received Healthy Food Financing Initiative funds, and we're working with independent grocers throughout the state. One example being the Public Market in Wheeling, West Virginia. And so we're also expanding the program into local grocer, brick and mortar stores and businesses and storefronts this year as well, providing incentives for customer shopping at those locations to be able to afford that option as well in stores. So you might be wondering, if you are new to the Snap Stretch program, exactly how the program works. So essentially, you as a market or business owner would be collecting $1 for every dollar of their SNAP or EBT benefits off their EBT card. You would run that payment through those SNAP transactions with those requirements that you are to follow through the FNS, Food and Nutrition Services, the USDA guidelines, and running that program, accepting those dollars at, again, your storefront or market, farm stand, mobile market. And then you receive an additional dollar then per dollar for adult purchases for that market shopping experience for that customer. And then if the customer either is shopping with their child, their family, or if they are over the age of 60, you also then can give them an additional $1. And so that then triples that SNAP dollar that they had, to where those customers can then go and shop with $3 through the market purchases. And I'll be covering those eligible items for purchasing here in a moment as well.
Hey, Bethany, before you move on, I do want to point out that for those folks who are not new to the program, the addition of the tripling senior dollars is new. And that's a new experiment for us.
So like we said, we have been working with markets and direct market farming, or DMF, experiences who have been accepting SNAP Stretch or in SNAP at their markets or farms. And we're also expanding now to work with more local grocery programs and, putting together the agreements to work with mobile market programs and pop-up farmers markets, and just working closely to get local food out in various ways in the communities. So if you have a question or you're interested, maybe a business owner or someone in the community who you think could really benefit from this program, definitely reach out. We're constantly changing and working with FNS to figure out what their standards are federally as to operating with SNAP benefits, and then also our SNAP Stretch program. And then I will be introducing 2 of our local market operators in the state who have been operating under the SNAP and SNAP Stretch program, and they'll get into some more of these details about implementing the program. It's a little bit different for every market. It's flexible enough that it can meet your needs, and you can operate it in a couple different ways. You have different options for issuing market currency and exactly how you redeem and distribute those benefits out to your customers. And so the big question is always, what are your eligible items available? So for running a SNAP or EBT transaction, this is the list that I pulled off, again, of the FNS USDA website of those items that are eligible to be purchased with your SNAP or EBT card. And so you have your fruits and vegetables, your meat, your dairy, your breads, and then plants as well. If they produce food for the household to eat, can be purchased with your SNAP dollars. And so another new exciting part of the expansion of the SNAP Stretch program for us here in West Virginia is that previously you had been able to use your SNAP Stretch dollars, then, like I said, that additional $1 to $2 per dollar you had on your SNAP EBT card, to then go and shop for fresh fruits and vegetables. And this year, with some additional COVID relief funding that we have until the end of the year, so this can be used and spent this way until December 31st of 2020, you can now also use those dollars to be redeemed for fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, and dairy products. So again, like Spencer said, if you have been participating in this program before, you'll recognize that those are, a new availability and a new opportunity for all of the markets, vendors, and business owners to be able to provide that for their community, and it will be available again until the end of this year. So now I would like to take a few minutes to introduce our 2 guests who will be presenting on the different ways and how their markets are set up and how they're operating SNAP and SNAP Stretch in their markets, and have been now for about a year longer. And I'm also going to allow during this time, if anyone has direct questions that they want to ask these market managers, please go ahead and in the chat box, direct those questions either to Amanda or Ron or to both of them. And Matthew will help us go through those questions after they've given the information that they have to present on their markets and how they run things today. And we'll take a few minutes to answer those questions, give them the floor to do so. So first, I would like to introduce Amanda Workman. She is representing the Bridgeport Farmers Market today.
Thanks for having me. So I'm on the board of the Bridgeport Farmers Market here in Bridgeport in Harrison County. Just a little background about our market. We are a Sunday market, open from 10 to 1 every Sunday through the season. And we're a market that's run completely by volunteers. And so we fundraise for our market throughout the year, and I'll just say it's been interesting times right now. So for SNAP, so we've been using SNAP Stretch for about a year and a half now. And the way that it works at our market is first thing is that we use vouchers. So we don't use the machine at our market, mainly because our internet service at our market is most of the time it doesn't work. I'll just put it that way. So we have found it easier to use the vouchers. So what that means is when someone comes up and they hand us their card, we have a number that we call in and we enter in all that information being prompted on the phone. And then once we're done with that market day, then we batch all of that information. One of our volunteers does that information for us. So it's something that we've been doing from the beginning. So it's a pretty simple way to do it. I do have tracking documents that I've put in place for our market. So each week it looks very different. 2 weeks ago, we had one lady that came in and had asked for $100 in SNAP. And then, of course, we matched it with the stretch. And then she had her child with her, so we matched it again. So that was $300 total. And so I have a document that the volunteers each week put how much was in SNAP, how much stretch, how much kids. So then when I come back on Monday morning, I can then fill out our invoice and send that over to Bethany. And I try to do that every week, but sometimes it's every other week. So I think it's whatever works best for your market. We also track our volunteer hours. And so that is something that I have another form that is filled out and it's a part of our market binder. And then I also have an electronic copy of it that I also submit with our report, along with the Google form that you fill out for the Farmers Market Association. And I can share all of that information with Bethany that she could share out if you all are interested in that. We also have market rules where, as part of the market rules, they're handed out to at the beginning of each season and anytime we bring in a new vendor, where there's language in the market rules about SNAP and the stretch program. And I include a picture of the tokens in that information. So all of the vendors are aware of, can I accept this SNAP token? And everybody is aware of what they can and cannot do. And then if they have any questions, they can ask one of the volunteers. One thing that we are doing different this year, mainly due to COVID, is there are tokens. I don't want to have to disinfect 300 tokens every single time. So we have created coupons for our customers to use. And it's the same way they hand them, we give them the coupons, they hand them to the vendors as payment. The vendors come back to us at the end of each market and we pay them for whatever they had. It's a pretty simple way to do it. And it's, again, we don't have to disinfect 300 tokens. So I think that's all I have to share for right now. It's been a great experience. We've seen our SNAP customers increase over the last year with Stretch. So I appreciate everything that you all have done to make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. She made some excellent points in regards to tracking and data reporting and the reimbursement process that I will get into more detail here in the second half of the webinar. So I really appreciate her speaking to that. And like she said, she is very willing and available to speak with anyone even after the webinar. She said she was willing to share her information. So if you are interested in any of the forms, we can get those to you to help you in that process, in addition to the ones that we have put out and are also adapting and working towards to make it really easy for everyone to be able to follow and monitor those sales and purchases. So I'll go ahead and give the floor to Ron Wilson now, who is going to speak to us. He is with the Barber County Community Garden Market and is going to explain how they are set up and run their daily business.
Well, good morning or afternoon, I guess. Our market is a brick and mortar market. We're open year round. In the winter, spring, and fall, it's 5 days a week. In the summer, it's 6 days a week. So to kind of explain to you how we do Snap Stretch, our point of sale is Square, but we also have the Snap EBT machine through the FIS Government Solutions, which costs us nothing. It's just a matter of when we run an EBT card, we also have to enter that into Square manually. So when a customer does purchase something through EBT or SNAP, we didn't automatically just match their dollars. If they have a child, then we also triple their dollars. and that's through a token system. They can spend the tokens then, or they can come back later and spend their tokens. We have found that we are running short of tokens, so we also have gone through a system where we give them a card and we keep a running track on that card of money they have to spend at the market snap stretch. We also maintain a physical log at checkout just to keep us on track as far as reporting correctly. And it's just written in by the clerk as the transaction occurs. So I try to sit down once a month. I'm not as good as Amanda as far as once a week, and report our snap stretch once a month to Bethany. It seems to work well here. I think that we are seeing an increase in SNAP purchases, and we are looking forward to this coming growing season's expansion into what I've heard so far as the 68 years of age and older, and also the meat and dairy products that we can offer through Snap Stretch. So I think that's about it.
Thank you so much, Ron. Really appreciate both of you speaking today. Like I said, I just figured it would be a really great example for everyone out there, how you both have been running it and have been successfully promoting in your communities. So I really appreciate you both doing that. Matthew, were there any questions for either of them at this time that we want to address, or should we move on for now?
Yeah, this time there were no questions in the chat box.
Okay, yeah. Thank you again, both of you. Really appreciate your time today. Okay, and now I'm going to give the floor back over to Matthew.
So I'm just going to detail a few ways that that we promote the Snap Stretch program, ways that you can promote the Snap Stretch program, and people who you can partner with Snap Stretch. So from the statewide approach, which would be us from headquarters and our staff, is we use social media campaigns, email blasts, which many of you have seen, especially to sign up for this webinar. And we are also getting ready to start a blog where we'll be doing stories about successful farmers markets, farm-based business, etc. around the state. And this will definitely include folks who are using Snap Stretch. We also partner with statewide agencies such as OVU Extension and other organizations to promote the program from top down. This also might be DHR, Legal Aid, or WIC. And we also provide marketing support, promotion, planning support, and promotional materials such as banners, yard signs, and table displays that we're able to provide those who are participating in the program. When you're all in with promoting the program, we definitely encourage you all to share your story on your social media presence, in your local newspaper or radio, and really get the information out that way. You can also cross-promote with your local extension offices for cooking classes such as Eating Smart, Being Active, canning and preserving classes, or other programs they might have that complement Snap Stretch and are geared towards SNAP recipients. We also encourage that you make connections and relationships with your local agencies and local agency offices to get flyers hung up, get recommendations for folks to check out Snap Stretch where they're at. So these are some ideas of community partners and ways you can reach new customers. So great examples of community partners include senior and assisted living housing facilities, especially for those mobile markets, but you can also go there to hang up flyers, etc. Senior community centers, churches, food pantries. I know many pantries that include a Snap Stretch flyer in all of the boxes or bags that they pass out. Low-income housing, agencies like DHR and WIC, organizations such as FRNs and Extension, and also federally qualified health centers also will give recommendations and to join the program or serve as a location for pop-up markets. Some ideas on ways to attract new customers, particularly SNAP recipients, are programs and activities for children and families. So I know that Bridgeport Farmers Market has ran a kids pop club for many years. Special events at the market, such as live music, performances, cook-offs, movies, etc. Incentive programs for return shoppers. Again, some social media posts really showing what you have at your market and what's available each week. So people know what to expect when they come to their market and what they're going to be shopping for before making the trip to your market. Also, having flexible hours to suit your community. Maybe it's not Saturday mornings that you're set up, it's Tuesday evenings. a convenient location for pedestrian traffic, and just convenient in general to folks in your community. Starting a mobile market and bringing your market to that community, partnering with local clinics on a pharmacy program, and again, partnering with folks like View Extension for classes, or they'll also offer tasting tables at markets. All that said, right now, these activities cannot be done during COVID, but these are ideas once we're able to do that.
Thank you, Matthew. And if you have any questions for him and need to reach out to either of us to how we can help you get any of these activities going or help you with the technical assistance that you need, we'll have our email address at the end of the message, but we'll both be checking that email regularly and answering your all's questions in regards to any of these needs that you all have on a daily basis. Okay, so now for the next exciting new change in how we are assisting you all. We are going to be sending out all interested and previously participating markets with a new toolkit, which will include a new 2020 MOU for the rest of the year, again, in accordance with the spending of those med items, the meat, eggs, and dairy, with the funding that we have available. We're going to have this agreement spread out for the time that we're able to spend those funds and implement the program in this way for the rest of the year. And then you'll also be receiving, instead of the Google form, a new JOT form that I'm going to walk through here all with you today real quickly. And we'll also go over the time log, or what used to be referred to as a volunteer log. And so like I said, at the end of this, we will package this all together and send it out to all the market contacts information that we have, and anyone who is interested that wants to participate can reach out to us to receive one as well. And then we are working on actually revamping the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition's website right now. And we are in the process that hopefully by today, or definitely by the end of this week, this information will be provided under the program's Snap Stretch page within the website that you can go to and find all these links and information detailing what we've covered here today as well. So I'm going to start with a review of our 2020 MOU. Again, this will be individualized for every market and business, everyone participating. So this is agreement between us and you directly and specifically. But just to review the information that will be included in it really quickly, some of the important features to it, again, is that this will run through December 31st of 2020. And so that will also affect some of our reporting and reimbursement needs that we'll need to have in place through the rest of the year to make sure that we are able to support you all in providing those reimbursement. And so while reimbursements cannot be guaranteed, what we would ask is that if you all are able, as both Amanda and Ron, highlighted in their conversation here today, just to make sure that you are completing the reports in this form that we'll cover here now on a monthly basis. And so essentially, at least at the end of every month, if you can go through the form and have submitted approximately 11 business days after the last day of the month, this data information that we need from you, that will also be what we use to then reimburse you for those Snap Stretch dollars, then we will be able to turn around and get those to you on a timely basis and work to make sure that we're monitoring the total that we have available and what's going out into the community so that we can report that information back and continue to grow the program and look for additional funding where we see it's needed. Also, due to the nature of COVID and the pandemic right now, a lot of markets and businesses have come to us and asked us about the PBT funds that are found on the majority of West Virginia students' cards. And this is funding that can count towards your SNAP EBT transaction dollars to then be doubled, or in this case tripled, as they would be school children, for spending in the Snap Stretch at the market. And then we also have information regarding those brick and mortar stores that we're working with. We're asking those stores to source 35% or more of their total produce inventory during those, typical April to October timeline of growing season here in West Virginia, that you're providing, you're out there sourcing from local producers. At least 35% of your produce is coming from a producer who either is it within the state boundaries or 50 miles outside of the state. We also cover what SNAP stretch dollars are permitted to be redeemed for in those purchases. And then we cover the data that we'll also be asking for in the report itself. And again, we just ask that we receive this, and you'll also receive reminders that I will send out at the end of every month to remind you to get the information in so that we have this and we're able to track how you all are doing in the community, what your needs are, what demand you're seeing, and get you the reimbursements that you need. And then this reporting data is important because it's what we supply, again, those funders who have been really benefiting this program and providing us with incentives we need to be able to provide to all of you. So we need to be able to log that data and then report it back to them cumulatively from all the participating markets, vendors, and businesses. And in addition to that, we also ask at the same time that you submit that volunteer log, or what we're now calling the time log. I will show you where you can attach that to your form. And this is really important because we know that everyone who's participating in this program is spending time, setting up tables where you welcome your customers and are distributing the tokens or the vouchers or the scripts. You're interacting with those customers, you're explaining the program, you're explaining SNAP and how they can use their SNAP stretch dollars at your particular business or market setup. And then similarly, you're also spending this time and putting the reporting and tracking that documentation, whether it be, all the volunteers and the vendor time, also any market manager time spent doing these activities. I'll review that log with you again, but we ask that you submit those at the same time so that we can also report on the time that you all have given to this program, again, to our grantors, to be able to continue programming opportunities. And we're just looking for, be able to track the finances that we have going out, but also inform you all of what we have going on and what we're seeing the demand is and what we're able to offer you all through this program by getting this, completed on a monthly basis. Like I said, we're not able to guarantee that those funds, we don't know what the timeline necessarily looks like. We have them until December 31st or until they have been spent. And what we want to be able to do is to inform you of the demand in your community and provide you with those reimbursements as timely as possible. And we really are asking and enforcing this now because what we found in the last few months is that markets would come and, it is a lot of work and it's, something you have to, put on yourself or your volunteers, and they would manage to keep that time off to the end of their season, wait 6 or 7 months down the line, or sometimes, several months beyond when they had actually, redeemed those dollars at their market or with their vendors, and would then come out, having a reimbursement of thousands of dollars months after the dollars had actually been spent. So we're just requesting for you all to be in the know and to help us be able to track and see where we're at so we can, plan accordingly and be able to support every one of the markets and businesses we have across the state in this program. It's just several thousands of dollars to manage. We want to be able to provide you all with the best service we can in implementing this program. Okay, so now to the data tracking form itself that we've been talking about. I'll run through this quickly with you. It is not too entirely different from what the Google form used to be for all those who had participated. Most of the same kind of reporting information here. I'll put in my name, my email address, because at the end of this, I will receive a summary of the responses I put in so I can review that. And if I, messed some numbers around or didn't, go identically how I wanted to report it, I can go back and actually edit the form after I receive that email and update that information if I need to. Then again, it depends on how often you wish to report. This is, on you if you want to do it the day after a market, on a weekly basis, bi-weekly, or again, at least monthly. You're going in and you're putting in the dates of those markets where you tracked this data information from, the name, again, of your market or your business. And then here we're looking for your total customers. So this isn't just your SNAP recipients or SNAP stretch individuals. This is, you know, if we had 150 customers at market today, I'll report that, or in that 2-week period. And then out of those customers, how many SNAP and EBT transactions did you have? So I'll say we had 100 actual SNAP or EBT transactions from those customers. And then they spent, I don't know, let's say $400 during that time period. And then some of the more specifics, what we're going to ask is that you are tracking when you distribute, again, your tokens, your vouchers, your coupons, whether the currency essentially was either going towards an adult, and how many of them were for adults, whether it was for the seniors who are 60 or over. I know we don't need to card them, but if they're a senior and they're receiving their tokens, let's keep track of how many of them were for seniors. And then if you had children receiving the kids coupons or the vouchers, whatever, so that they could be doing their spending as well. So essentially what we're looking from that then is if we had 400, we can say that we had 100 adults. And then what, 150 kids, maybe 150 seniors. And then the next spot is if you are providing any kind of your own incentive program or any local match program dollars. This is an optional spot, but if you have anything like your own double dollars program or a veggie voucher program, you can go ahead and list that here so that we can also provide that to our grantors to show the community buy-in and support that is provided at your market or business. And then this next section here is, so before it was distributed. So I'm here at the stand, I have people coming to me and they are just receiving the tokens because I've ran their EBT card. So I know how many tokens based how many dollars I ran on their EBT card. So I distributed those 100, 150, and 150 tokens or whatever the currency is. Now in this section, what we're looking for is how many of those dollars were actually redeemed or spent within that same 2-week period. And in some cases, we have additional support and demand and programming opportunities in specific counties. So if you are a mobile market or a pop-up market that is going around and operating in multiple counties, we ask that in this section as well, you list your market name and the county that it was located in, and then go through and again, how many total of those adult and senior SNAP stretch dollars were redeemed within that period. So, this may not add up to the 400 spent. In this case, it would, because I had $400 spent and the 400 tokens out distributed. So if I had all of those redeemed, then I would say that I had, now I have to do mental math. Okay, so I had 150 of the kids then, let's say, that I distributed and they were also redeemed. And then with the adults, that would leave me with 250 for the total of the 400. And so then in addition to they were redeemed during that same 2-week period, the question is what were they redeemed for? So we're asking that you track and say out of the 400, let's say 300 were redeemed for meat, eggs, or dairy products, and the remaining 100 then was spent on fruit and veggie purchases. So again, looking at those tokens and seeing what they were spent on or redeemed for with your market vendors is what that's asking for. So again, if you had...
Before you move on, I have a couple questions, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So is it it's possible to have distributed $400 worth of tokens, but not to have redeemed them all, correct?
Right.
And then the question that I have about, so like, we're not giving, two questions really. We're not giving separate tokens for the senior monies. So we're not actually tracking how much senior dollars were redeemed. So you can just, for the folks who use the token system, you use the blue tokens for adults essentially and the yellow tokens for kids, or however you choose to do it. We do care about the kid redemption, but the adult and seniors, they can just be all added into one. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then the meat, eggs, and dairy, again, we're not giving separate tokens. So essentially what we're asking is for just an approximate number. So when you're collecting that information from your vendors, for market managers, and they, maybe they bring you $50 in redemption, and you say, hey, approximately of your $50 in redemption, can you guesstimate how much was veggies and how much were the med products? That's sort of all we're asking for here, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't need to be super scientific and to the letter, correct?
Right.
Okay, sorry, thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, except for the redemption, the dollars redeemed is what we're most interested in getting a number of how many of those dollars were spent. So this is again how I create the reimbursement check. So I need to have that number in total so that I can write the check and get that out to you all. And so then in this example, I may or may not have operated in different counties, but again, if you had a market that was set up in Cabell County and another in Lincoln County, that you would then just break that out and fill that out per county line there. And then as Matthew was saying earlier, we encourage education and other activities to promote this program, the market, out into your community. So if you have any, live music, if you did a cooking demo, and if you did senior voucher outreach, any of that information, if you'll share that so that we can also, again, report that to our grantors. And then this next section is uploading the time log. So again, I'll review that here with you. We've updated this a little bit. It had been the volunteer log, but again, we just want to emphasize that what we're looking for is any time that you as the market manager, your volunteers, your board members, your vendors, your staff members, whoever is out there, helping you promotion plan on how to get the word out about the program, whoever is engaging in customers and explaining the program to them as they enter your store. Any time spent again on completing the report forms and doing, the math and the numbers to report those out to us is time that we would ask for you to divide out per individual who is completing it, the date and the hours they put into that time and signing off on that. And then if you will include that volunteer log, or in this case, the time log or logs, you have multiple files, you can just browse, in your computer, upload those here, and that step's done, so that we have that report here with the numbers and the data that you have tracked over the time period, again, that you're reporting for. And then we're also asking that twice a year, again, for reporting, that we receive some pictures and some story to accompany your community market and activities that were going on. So in the case you did have live music or outreach or a health fair or anything like that, or just, something going on that you want to really highlight the program in your community, include a couple pictures. And then here you can give us a little bit of a caption or information about what was going on in those pictures so that we can share those. And then otherwise, if you did have questions or, you were missing something or had something for me you wanted to point out on this form or anything like that, you could put that here in the box as well. And then all of that, like I said, then gets submitted to us and we have that on file, and then we're able to turn around and within 14-day terms reimburse you for those dollars redeemed within that time period. Again, that you've reported on at least a monthly basis. Okay. So now we will open the floor for our Q&A period. If anyone has any additional questions along those lines for us. Matthew?
So at this time, there were no additional questions in the chat box. So at this time, if you want to unmute yourself, ask your question, and just be conscious of your muting with people talking.
There's a really good question in the chat box from Cindy Smaley. She says, with COVID-19 numbers, and they've basically been discouraging children from attending the market. So they want to know if they can offer the triple if the family says that they have children.
So unfortunately, if a child is not present, we are not distributing kids coupons or SNAP stretch dollars to the families.
Yeah, so we apologize. We absolutely understand the restrictions with COVID, and that makes it really, really challenging. Unfortunately, like the verification processes are really, really minimal compared to what they could be, and that just happens to be one of them. I think maybe a piggybacking question is if they bring a PEBT card, Bethany, to the market. Do you feel like that is enough verification that there is a child in the home, since those are only issued to children?
I mean, I was definitely thinking of that. This isn't the first time this question has been brought to my attention, so I was wondering if that in of itself might not be enough. In my mind, it would be.
I would agree.
Okay.
So to answer everyone's question, if they do have a PEBT card, those we can do the 1 to 2 match.
And if it's just their EBT card, we know that that dollar amount is loaded on there, and so you'd still be able to tell that they, had that dramatic increase in the number of dollars on their EBT card too, to signify that they had children in the home.
We do have another question. We have 2 questions in the chat box. The first one is, how long does it take to find out if your setup just accept SNAP EBT?
So the process right now has been, I could tell, a little bit fluctuating for a lot of people. It seems like FNS and the USDA have brought on additional staff to review the application process and ask additional questions. But it has seemed like in general, it's still somewhere around like a 2 to 3 week time frame from the time of you submitting all of the documentation, answering all the questions for them coming back and potentially asking any additional questions, and completing that process before you receive your FNS number and your packet to be able to train and then implement the program to accept SNAP and EBT. Any other questions?
Yeah, we have another question about if people wanting more information about vouchers, coupons, tokens. That's something just to reach out to us on the SNAP Stretch email, and we can talk you through that.
Connect you with Amanda potentially, or someone else, or yeah, just to definitely walk you through that process and different opportunities.
And then we also have a question that if a customer has kids that you've seen in the past, but they're not with them at the market the day that they're shopping, are they still able to do the kids tokens or not?
How do you feel about that, Spencer?
Oh, I think that you could get yourself into a situation, Fiona, that could maybe seem discriminatory. So we're not going to be checking up on you with regards to that. So we're going to leave that to your discretion. But just sort of that note that you could potentially get your market into a situation.
The family behind them in line could be like, you just gave them extra tokens and they didn't have a child with them, kind of thing. Like, yeah, I could see things unraveling potentially.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, but again, we're not checking up. Something we've emphasized with this program in the past is that, all of this stuff is an honor system. We're not asking for your SNAP EBT machine receipts or anything along those lines. Yeah, it's an honor system.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I have a question. It'd be easier to say. So my snap machine is assigned to the Berkeley Springs Farmers Market, but we are currently working to get one of those pharmacy programs in Paw Paw.
Okay.
Can I take my machine to Paw Paw for their program, or if we want to do that, do I need to do a whole different application, because it's all through the Morgan County Association for Food and Farms?
So you're saying that you applied as the Morgan County Association for Food and Farm?
That
FNS?
actually the Berkeley Springs Farmers Market, but the Morgan County Association for Food and Farms is the 501c3 that runs it. So that's the FIN number that's assigned. I mean, the EIN number that's assigned to it.
Cindy, I'll connect you with Joni with FNS, but it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, that as you applied for it as the Berkeley Springs Farmers Market with the one address and location, you would need to apply for a second one to be able to operate in Paw Paw.
Okay.
But in case, because you're under the Morgan County 501c3 name, in case that is something different, we'll definitely verify that for you. Any other questions?
And Cindy, it might actually be to your advantage. I mean, it's a little bit of a pain to go through the application process, but it might be to your advantage if you would get free equipment again for 2 years, essentially, through the state with that new FNS number.
That's true. Okay.
And did I read it's easy for like a vendor? So like right now we have one of our market people who has opened up a roadside booth. Did I read that we should probably encourage them if they wanted to go in and get their own?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, same principle idea. Get them the UBT equipment in their hands and be able to operate on their own there. Okay, if there are no other questions around the Snap Stretch program.
There is actually, Bethany.
Sorry.
Matt Rafa has, Matthew's typing back, but just in case folks are wondering, Matt's asked about signage that's available. So just as a heads up to everybody, when we closed out the federal funding for the program, we had some like a little over $5,000 left for, so essentially we were able to move it to supply. So we purchased about $5,000 worth of yard signs and banners and table display things, well before COVID hit. And well before this program started shifting to respond to COVID. So those are still going to be made available to you guys. And they're the really basic graphic that Bethany showed really early on in the slideshow, though I don't know, Bethany, if you can go back to it. Those are going to be available. Hopefully we will get some additional funding for promotion and outreach, and that will enable us to make some special, yeah, that's the graphic that's currently available. We're still waiting to hear back if we got some additional promotional dollars to make some sort of pandemic response to this. But I don't know where we're at with that yet. So essentially, you know, grants take forever to come in. We're lucky to have what we've gotten, but these items are going to be available to you for sure. Bethany's happy to put them in a box and ship them.
Yeah, so I'm working towards that, but also just so you all know, again, in the toolkit information that is provided on the website as well, once we have that updated and available for everyone, these graphics like this one here itself is also available in case you all have any additional funding or interest in, revamping those to personalize for your market or anything. Those graphics are available for your use as well.
Also, while I'm thinking about it, if anybody on this call happens to be on the I-79 corridor, Bethany and I are headed to Morgantown today and would happily drop off this stuff to you instead of attempting to ship it.
Amen. Okay, so if that wraps up the questions, Matthew does have a couple of other things to present that are food and farm and Snap Stretch related.
Oh, there is one more question, Bethany. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Matt Rafa says, we currently have a volunteer sign-in that is an electronic app. Are we able to export that and use it, or do we need signatures to be valid?
My understanding is that we need signatures to be valid. Correct, Spencer?
Unfortunately, that seems to be my understanding as well with federal funds.
Yeah.
Sorry to make it more challenging. We're just trying, genuinely, Matthew and Bethany and I have spent a lot of hours trying to figure out how to take really complicated stuff that the federal government has wanted and make that not complicated, so that we could streamline this as much as possible. So I know some of this stuff seems like a pain in the butt, but we are definitely trying to make it as easy as possible.
I would say, though, it might be possible, correct me if I'm wrong, if you were completing the report form, let's say like on a monthly basis, but at the time of, like the day of like a market opportunity, you had people use the app, could they then like print a report of all the volunteers and their hours, and then if it would be easier, like at the end of the month, have them go back and sign it then? If that,
I think that's absolutely fine.
that might be a cumulative way that you could then, like at your last market or something, have the whole entire month's hours printed out and have them sign off next to that, and that would save you a little bit of time the day of for several of those markets, potentially.
Yeah, and Bethany, Otter wants to know, where would someone go to apply for EBT equipment?
So we have actually put together a one-pager, which is something else we'll be getting out this week, of the 3 easy steps of accepting SNAP and SNAP Stretch at your market or business. And we have the information there linked to the West Virginia DHHR EBT equipment grant application right now, and with the contact information of Carlotta Gee with the state. For new markets with new FNS numbers, or those that are interested in getting an FNS number for the first time, or those who need new equipment, I would definitely reach out to her first and find those resources that they have available through the state DHHR. And they are providing really nice stand beside EBT transaction card readers for those markets. And it's a really simple application that we've provided, and I'll continue to send it out by email. It's just a 1-page like Word document just explaining your market and whether you're like new FNS or applying or whatever that process is, and you just send it directly to Carlotta and she'll work with you from there to get you set up with the reader. Final questions? Okay, Matthew, take it away.
All right, so I do have 2 exciting announcements for y'all to be kind of keeping your eyes open for, that we'll be sending over our contact list that you all are a part of. So Farm Fresh WV, many of you had your farmers market listed for the past 2 years on this market locator, and we're actually in the process of updating Farm Fresh WV to include local grocers, local farm-based businesses, agritourism, craft beverage industry, etc. So we will be in the next week or so making some announcements in terms of Farm Fresh WV, as well as how you can update your current listing for your farmers market. So be looking out for that information. I have had some people reach out to me about the materials, the promotional materials from Farm Fresh WV. That grant is now over, and so we are not able to produce and supply those materials this year like in the past. And then the next announcement to be looking for, next Monday we'll be making an announcement for requests for proposals. We do have some COVID-19 relief funds that we're able to make available to a limited number of farmers markets in the state that they're able to use to have promotional planning and get promotional items for their market, purchase PPE, hand sanitizer, masks, etc., gloves, etc., for their market, and also household items that they're able to sell. I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied today for some reason. And so we have limited funds, so this will be done through proposals that will be randomly selected for markets to receive these items. And the one caveat to be included in this is that you are currently accepting SNAP Stretch or planning to accept SNAP Stretch. So that announcement will be made Monday.
Yeah, I just wanted to be a little bit more clear about this for folks. We did get a little bit pot of money. So essentially what we do want to do is we have money for PPEs for 10 markets in total. And we'll just cut a check to those markets to purchase their own PPEs. And then an additional sort of subset of markets who would like to work on 2 things. One, promoting SNAP Stretch in their communities. We'll get a chance to work with our communications coordinator to develop an individual promotional plan with how to promote the program. And then this idea behind household items was actually one of our board president's idea, particularly around seniors. So we would like to give markets the ability to purchase toilet paper, cleaning supplies, things along those lines that they could be sold from the market manager's station, to try to encourage people to come out to their market and prevent them from having to go to the grocery store. And so there's a decent chunk of funds available for a handful of markets for that. And so what Matthew said is basically there's going to be a minimal eligibility for this. Take SnapStretch, market, have a contact. Yes, we're willing to do this. And then everybody who meets the minimum eligibility requirements, we'll put them in a hat and draw out as many as we have space for, essentially. So it's not competitive, but we just don't have enough money for everybody. But anybody who wants to participate, we'll try to get as many in as possible. And I just wanted to clear that up a little bit.
So I think this concludes everything we have for you today in the webinar. We have included, again, the SnapStretch email address down here below to reach out to both Matthew and I about any of these items or with any questions you have or needs. And then I did put together this poll that I've launched in case you want to make sure here now that there's something specifically that you'd like to request or have any questions answered. You can go ahead and complete the poll before you close out of today's webinar. We'll reach out to you all. Thank you all for your time. Have a great week.